Welcome to the Real Talk with Megan podcast, where we have candid conversations about the things that matter most. I'm your host, Megan, and we're going to deep dive into the topic of mental health. In a world where we're constantly pressured to perform, achieve, and excel, it's easy to neglect our mental health. But the truth is, mental health is just as important as physical health, and it's time we started treating it as such. Join the conversation as we explore the complexities of mental health issues and speak with experts, advocates, and individuals who have lived through these challenges. Together, we'll work to destigmatize mental health and start conversations. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready for a real and raw conversation about mental health on the Real Talk with Megan podcast. Things I never thought I would do. Let's add this one to the list. Launch a podcast. Honestly, I could probably create a whole episode about the things I never imagined I would be doing, but since this is the first episode, let me introduce myself first. I am currently the next steps pastor at Church Anywhere, or some of you may know it as First Capital Christian Church. I know, it's confusing for all of us. Simply put, we have our physical space where we do ministry, and that's First Capital. And then in 2016, our digital space started to grow, and we called it Church Anywhere, because the goal was to make Jesus known, not our church's name. In the past, those two spaces have been really separate, but today we strive to combine both, and every staff member works in both the physical and digital spaces. It's really a unique setup, but I have fallen in love with the passion and the mission of this church. It is truly unlike any other church I've ever worked in. I'm married to my awesome husband, Ty, and this year we celebrate 14 years of marriage. We have two amazing kids that keep us super busy. I graduated from Central Bible College with a degree in contemporary worship leadership. I've been on staff at a few different churches as a worship pastor or student worship pastor, and funny enough, one time I was the worship pastor at one church while being the student worship pastor at a completely different church at the same time. That was a really interesting experience, to say the least. In 2018, I came on staff at First Capital as their student worship leader for about 2 years, and then I was in children's ministry for about 2.5 seconds because the pandemic hit and we needed to pivot some staff members. So I stepped into the role of digital engagement pastor. That was around the same time I started my blog in 2020, talking about mental health and my journey with that. Some of the topics we'll discuss in this podcast actually stem from my original blog. If you haven't caught on yet, one of my big passion areas of my life is talking about mental health. For a majority of people, mental health can be an invisible struggle because typically it's hidden behind a smile. I know this to be true because that's how I hid my struggle with anxiety and depression for so long. But the truth is, mental health is just as important as physical health. And I think it's time we started treating it as such. My goal and prayer is that my blog and through this podcast, we can start conversations that can have lasting impacts and break the stigma that for so long has stopped people from getting the help that they need. Another way I'm trying to achieve this goal is by getting training in the mental health field and talking to people that are a lot smarter than me in this area. Most recently, I just became board certified as a mental health coach. I'm here to help people take their first step into getting the help they need, in whatever way that may look like. The journey I have been on for the past few years is an incredible one. With the help of talking to my counselor and reading about how the mind works and spending time with Jesus, I've been able to change a mindset that for so long had consumed me. For years, like 33 years to be exact. But now I can finally see myself the way that God sees me. And I can't wait to share my story with you over the course of this podcast. It's surreal that I'm even recording this right now. And that's why I needed to add it to the list of things I never dreamed I would be doing. Because growing up, I was pretty shy and quiet. Now, that wasn't because I don't like to talk much. I mean, get me one-on-one and I can hold my own. Okay, well, most of the time. Partially, it was because of my anxiety that I didn't realize I had, and we'll talk about that in more episodes to come. But another reason is because I'm an Enneagram 1, the perfectionist. And if you haven't heard of Enneagram, it's a personality test that I really love because for me, it hit the nail on the head. As a 1, I don't like anyone to see me as not perfect. Now, I do realize that it's okay not to be perfect, but if I could make it seem as if I was, it would give the illusion that there's nothing wrong with me or wrong with my life. That's why writing my blog and recording this podcast is so surreal. I'm going to do the exact opposite of what my mind is telling me. I'm opening up about things that have happened in my life and some that I haven't shared with a whole lot of people, but I'm going to be vulnerable and share them. So here we go on a journey together. Buckle up because it might be a bumpy ride at times, but if you stick around, you might learn something that can help you or someone you know. And one last thing, if no one has told you this lately, you are amazing. Now, I know this because you're listening to this podcast right now, and this community is filled with amazing, beautiful, and wonderful people. Also, I would love to hear from you. Like, what topics would you like to hear covered? Or what questions do you have for our experts or people who have struggled with different mental health issues? If you are someone who is struggling and you need to talk to someone, please reach out. You can reach out to me or someone else that you know. But if you want to reach out to me, you can email me at Megan, and that's MEGAN, @churchanywhere.us. And I would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Real Talk with Megan. Remember, you are not alone. Seeking help is a sign of strength, and taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. We'll see you next time for more honest conversations.